Hey everyone, it's James from Epilog Laser. Thanks for joining me today. For today's training video, I'm going to be taking some regular Slate Cheeseboards and show you how to make them really stand out by engraving them with a photo. We walk you through that entire process, including how to fine-tune your settings for Slate, how to test that photo and see how it's going to engrave, how to process it and how easy that is to get it ready for the laser, and of course we're going to show the actual engraving so you can see the excellent results that you can get with the laser system. Now, as an added bonus tip, we're going to talk about some of the commercial applications where you can sell these products as well. So whether you're looking to customize products or add a new product to your product line, this is a great place to start. Let's dive in. So here in the graphic design software, I've set up my page size to slightly larger than the actual cheese board because we're going to be engraving up the edges of it. Now I've set that up to just under 14 inches by 10 inches. Now I've also set up a box on that page and that same size of the page, and this is going to help us with sizing and positioning that artwork. Now when I'm choosing a photograph to engrave on slate, first thing I'm looking for is high resolution. I want something that's got a lot of detail even when I scroll in. So let's go ahead and look at that. And I can see there's still a lot of detail here. I'm not getting a rasterized image when I actually scroll in. So that should work really well for this. The next thing I'm looking for is a lot of contrast. Now, if I was just engraving this mountainside over here, there's just not much contrast there. I'm not going from a dark to a white, so it's not going to look good on slate. In this photograph, I've got the white buildings, I've got the dark mountain, I've got the flowers that stand out there, and some nice contrast with the water and sky as well. So this should work really well. The third thing to take in consideration is composition. A lot of people say that you want to have a very simple composition on something like this because you're going to want to really feature that main area that you're engraving, and that's very true. But I find on something large like a cheese board, having a lot of details actually really beneficial to your final engraving. So I like this photo a lot for a nice cheese board engraving. To prepare the photo, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to grayscale. So let's come to bitmap, convert to bitmap. I've got this set to 300 dpi, the same that I'm going to be engraving it at, and I've set it to grayscale 8-bit. Click OK. And now what I want to do is I want to actually invert the photo. And the reason we're doing this is we're engraving this on a black slate. So when we engrave it, it's going to turn white. So you want to invert those colors so it looks correct when you've actually engraved the photo. So I'll just come to Effects, Transform, Invert Colors. So now we're ready to position the artwork. So I'm going to right click on that, choose Power Clip Inside. Then I'm going to select that box shape we've drawn, and that's going to crop it to that area. Now it did crop off areas of the photograph, so I'm going to edit that a little bit. So I'll just right click, Edit Power Clip. Now I can resize that image to just larger than that box size. And I can move it around as I want based on how many of the buildings and how much of the water I want to show. Once I'm happy with that, I'll just click Finish. And I'll turn off that outer black border we have drawn. Now, a lot of people, when they're engraving on slate, are going to tell you need to run it through a third-party process. Now, that can really help with a difficult image, but I find with a really high-quality image, you don't really need to do that with the Epilog Engraver. It works really well just going through this process. So I'll go ahead and print this. Click File, Print. And I've selected the Epilog Engraver as my printer and click Print. And that's going to send this over to the laser dashboard. We'll be able to set up all of our settings for slate. So once that file opens up in our laser dashboard, you can see here our camera view of the table. We're using a Fusion Maker 12 30 watt today. And I can see I've got my image right here and my settings over here. So what I'm going to do is actually move this, and you can see that I actually have a small slate coaster in here, not our full cheese board. The reason we're going to do this is I'm going to show you how to quickly test your graphic on a more inexpensive piece like a slate coaster and see how it's going to come out. So if you have any questions about the quality of the photograph, this is a great way to check it out very quickly with the laser. So I'll move this over until I've got a busy section of it right over that coaster area. Then what I'm going to do is just drag from each of the four sides my margins in. And this is going to be my engraving area. Now this is a really nice feature of the system in that I can quickly choose one area of the photo I want to engrave without having to change the cropping on the photograph, just to see how that area is going to come out. I do this all the time with photos on wood, all types of things to really check out my quality before I do a full engraving. Finally, I'm going to come over to import material settings, and I will select marble photo engraving. That's going to be the closest to slate. It should work really well. And I can just fine tune these settings a little bit now. Click import. We've got our resolution set to 300 dpi, the same as that photo's resolution. I've got speed at 100%. We're able to do this at full speed, even on a 30-watt laser, which is really nice. And the power is set to 50%. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to add a dithering pattern of Jarvis. What that's going to do is randomize those dots a little bit and do a really nice job on something like slate. And I'll set it to bottom top engraving and print. And we'll send that over to the laser and try it out, and I'll show you how to fine tune your settings over there. So here at the machine, I already have the piece running, and now I'm just going to test this out on the control panel. And I'm going to increase that power a little bit to find that right contrast between the dark and white in the image. Increase that up to 60% power. And that's looking a little more washed out than I want, so I'm going to take that back down to 55%. That's looking good. So I'm just going to let this finish out, and we'll see how that final area of the photo looks. Now I can take a look at that final piece. This is going to give me a good idea of, on a very difficult area of that photograph where there's a lot of detail, how well this is going to look on the full piece. And I can see all that detail there. So I'm really excited about this piece. Can't wait to see it engraved in full. Now that we know that photo is going to engrave well and we've got those settings dialed in, let's just go ahead and adjust our settings a little bit. And I'm going to change this to 55% power just to match what we tested at the machine. And then I'm going to export those settings. I'll go ahead and put it into that stone or marble folder, and I'll just call this 300 dpi slate photo. And then we've got those settings all saved and ready to use over and over again. I'll go ahead and extend my margins out, so we're engraving the entire piece now. And I've got my cheese board put on the table, so I'll just go ahead and position this right over the top of that. I've got my settings, click print. Let's go ahead and engrave this and see how it comes out. Now that it's done engraving, we can take a close-up look at the piece, and it came out just beautifully. The contrast is gorgeous. The slate is just one of my favorite materials to engrave with photographs because it just comes out so nicely and shows detail so well. So there's lots of great commercial applications for engraving on slate, cheese boards and platters. One that comes to mind immediately is going to be wineries and restaurants. Now, a lot of these places are already using platters like this, so you could offer to engrave their logo on it. As even more of an upsell, you could do a photograph of their winery grounds or the actual restaurant itself. Another idea that comes to mind immediately is going to be for realtors. Realtors already have high resolution photos of the houses they're selling. They're often looking for gifts to give to their clients. Now they could actually engrave the picture of the house that they've sold, as well as the family name on it. Another great application is weddings for gifts for the wedding party or for the bride and groom themselves. You could engrave a photograph from that wedding, and it'll come out just beautifully and be a one of a kind piece. So thanks for joining us today. I hope you found these tips helpful. Be sure to leave a comment and like the video as well. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe so you find out when the latest videos are coming out from Epilog. If you'd like to find out more about our laser systems, click the link in our description or go to epiloglaser.com. Now, we were using our Fusion Maker 12 today, and that took just over 17 minutes to engrave a single platter. You could actually move up to a Fusion Edge, and suddenly you're cutting that down to 12 minutes. So we'd love to be able to show you what the benefits of our different laser systems are and everything you can create with them. Again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.